Is it more powerful to say, I believe?
I stay.
I stay.
I stay.
I stay.
I stay.
I stay.
I'm staying here.
To whom else shall we go?
The Why I Stay podcast, where we find joy in staying in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. I'm your host, Lindsay Clyde, and I want to ask you, why do you stay? Today on this podcast, we're going to be talking about I know versus I believe. We're going to be talking about faith. We're going to be talking about how Bryson dealt with his stress and his anxiety and his depression after coming home from a mission, how all these things blend together and how he learned to rewire his thinking, rewire his brain to better be able to process life and extend mercy towards himself and also as an extension to that to others. It's a great episode. Before we get into it, I just want to say thank you for listening. Thank you for being here. Thank you for your testimony and your light. Thank you for caring. I know that there's a lot of things that can take your time, and you don't have very much discretionary time, I guess. And I'm grateful for you being here. And if you have any desire at all, I'd love to have you on the podcast. Email me at whyistaypodcast@gmail.com and we'll get you on here. Okay, without further ado, I always say that, but let's just get into it. Here we have Bryson Merkley. Bryson, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me on, Lindsay.
So if any of you listeners out there have not been here before, this is how we're going to do this. First, we're going to fire some questions at Bryson to just get to know him. They're really lighthearted, not serious questions. And then that transitions us into our 3 exploratory questions, which Bryson has chosen beforehand to speak on. And then the third and final section of this podcast is the crux of the podcast, and it's in the name. We ask him, why does he stay in the Church of Jesus Christ? So, Bryson, are you ready to be rapid fired?
I am ready.
So much determination. How old are you?
I'm 27.
Do you have any nicknames?
I do, but not from anybody except my parents.
What do they call you?
My mom calls me Bry or Bud, which is funny because she also calls my older brother Bud. So when we're both together, sometimes she says Bud, and it's just like,
which one of us are you talking to?
And then my dad sometimes calls me Bryson, my son. Which, if you know my dad, that sounds about right. But
yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I don't go by anything like from anybody else. I'm Bryson.
Yeah. Bryson's my cousin, and so I don't think I've ever heard any of those nicknames either. I mean, maybe I've heard your mom call you Bud, but I don't know. That's awesome. Where do you live?
Mesa, Arizona.
What's your favorite food?
One of my favorite foods, I'll say, is Chipotle.
That's a restaurant. You can't eat the building, Bryson.
I know.
Yes, go. Chipotle is great.
Yeah, I always get one of their burrito bowls with the chicken. So
yeah, that sounds yummy right now. What is your current hobby?
My hobby and my career are kind of this one and the same. I love to do music, whether it's writing music, conducting music, playing music, singing music, all of it.
What is your most favorite calling you've ever had?
I feel like it gets said a lot, but I loved being a missionary. That was one of my favorite things. I was super happy being a missionary and knew I was where I needed to be. So that was a really enjoyable experience. But it wasn't a calling that I had, but my dream calling would be to accompany on the piano in the primary. I subbed doing that once, and it was so much fun. Those kids are awesome.
My husband, Steve, loves that too. He thinks it's the best. But yeah. I guess we can just send this podcast episode your bishop's way and see if they can let you go to a family ward for 20 minutes for singing time every Sunday or something.
Yeah, that'd be fun.
What is a controversial opinion that you hold? Like, everybody loves Crocs, but you hate them.
I was actually thinking about this one today, and I was like, what controversial opinions do I have? I mean, I feel like I have some opinions that some people might find controversial, but I feel like they're like heavier. But one that I did think of is that I think that cats are better than dogs.
Whoa, you're a cat person then, eh?
I'm a cat person, yep.
Tell me why.
just from what I've experienced with dogs, they tend to be noisy and smelly. Whereas cats tend to be quieter. And yes, you do have the devil cat syndrome with some cats. But in my experience, I've had some cats in the past that have just been awesome. So, and if you don't have them in the house potty trained, like they'll go outside to do their business, they're not stinky. So that's really nice.
Hey, at this point with my children's just childhood body smells, maybe I should think about getting a cat instead of having our dog, because he adds to the stink like big
Yeah.
time.
Dogs are super cute, but yeah, they can smell.
What is your biggest dream?
My biggest dream is to have my like the music that I've written performed by a professional level ensemble. It's kind of like mixed in as well with also conducting a professional level ensemble. So yeah, that's my biggest dream.
What is something about you that is the same now as it was when you were in high school?
Just thinking on the fly, my hair is actually really similar. The way I do my hair is very similar how I was in high school. It's changed over the years, but the way it is now, as like a comb over type haircut. I feel bad that people listening can't see my hair, um but yeah, that's kind of the same.
Okay, and then the last question, this is my bonus question for you. If you could choose a professional level like symphony or orchestral ensemble to perform one of your pieces of music, which professional one would you choose?
The London Philharmonic,
And
definitely.
why?
They have some of the world's greatest musicians in that ensemble. They're the orchestra that they use to record movie scores most frequently, and they put the music in front of them, and they get it almost instantly. And
Wow.
so yeah, that'd be incredible.
Well, Bryson, thank you so much for delivering on those rapid fire questions. We're going to move you into the exploratory questions now. And the first one that you've chosen to speak on is, when have you had to have courage in your discipleship?
So in thinking about this, before when I was preparing to go on my mission, I went to a year of college at Arizona State University, and I was studying music education there. And so when I went to go on my mission, I had to defer my scholarship that I had there, and I had to give up my place in the program that I was in. And I remember when it came down to it, I was talking with my professor, and um, she was not too keen on me leaving partway through my degree and being gone for 2 years. And I remember at one point she was just like, "Well, just so you know, I can't guarantee that there will be a spot for you when you get back." But I went and I served, and when I got back, I re-auditioned to get back into the program. And I was telling her, I was like, I feel like I've lost a lot since I left, and um, I don't know, I'll probably take some catching up, kind of a thing. And I played for her, and she just looked at me and she was like, I don't think you've lost much at all. And so that was just such a testament to me. While I was on my mission, I actually talked with Elder DeFeo, Massimo DeFeo of the 70 came to my mission. And he talked to my companion and I, and he actually said that if I served faithfully on my mission, that the Lord would, magnify my talents and abilities in music. And so I just took that as a fulfillment of his promise. So I just thought that was really neat.
That is super cool. And I mean, was it hard for you at all when she said that? When she said to you, I don't know if there'll be a spot for you when you get back. Did you even have like a moment's hesitation, or had you already decided, no, I'm going to serve a mission no matter what?
Yeah, I had already decided I was going to serve a mission no matter what. It of course still wasn't easy to hear. But yeah, I was set and I had made my decision, and so it was just like, okay, so be it. Here we go.
That's really cool. And yeah, that definitely was a fulfillment. And I think the part that I love is that you did decide before. I think telling ourselves I'm going to do something and following through no matter the bumps and the hiccups that come along, that's where we get our power. Because a lot of times I think in our discipleship, things will come up in our lives where we think, I didn't sign up for this. I didn't think this was going to happen when I made these promises and these
Mhm.
covenants or made the commitment to go on a mission. I didn't think X, Y, and Z was going to be in my way, or even the problems when you might come back or something. But the commitment at the beginning is what takes us through. If we can just harken back to, nope, I said I would do this and I'm going to do this, that that gives us such a boost if we can rely on those previous commitments and say I'm going to be true to that. I'm glad that it worked out and that it all ties together because it makes for a good story.
Oh
But
yeah,
but yeah, thank you for sharing that with us.
of course.
All right, your second question. What is one experience that really increased your maturity in the gospel?
So in thinking about this one, um, I don't know if it's really one experience, more of like a larger view set of experiences, but like I said, I really enjoyed my mission. Was super happy there. When I got back, it was really hard for me. And looking back, I think honestly, I think there was a lot of like anxiety and depression that just suddenly came out. And whereas on my mission, I feel like I was kind of constantly stressed, but I was really happy. I'm not positive what the difference was. I feel like maybe I was sustained while I was out there, but yeah, upon getting back, it was just a really hard transition. It's funny because I was saying the other day, when one of my brothers was over, I was like, "Yeah, I had a really hard time, adjusting from my mission." He was like, "Yeah, I could tell." It took me like a year to really feel like things were normal. What that led me through, it was really challenging time, lots of anxiety, plenty of depression to go along with that. I didn't really have a whole lot going on right when I got back. I went back to college in January and I got back in November. And so I had a couple months where there really wasn't anything happening. And I think that probably contributed to it. But in that whole process of trying to work through that, I felt like I was guided by the Lord along the way. And I came across Louise Hay is her name. And she talked about positive affirmations with your mind, and then I went from there to energy healing with a lady named Carol Tuttle, and she did like the body tapping and like the positive affirmations to try and ground positive thinking and energy into your body, and that really helped a lot. And then finally, it was like the summer after I got back home, I think I was called to be a self-reliance facilitator for the stake. And that was inspired because the group that I met with, there was one older adult lady who came because I'm in a YSA stake, and she was in the Stake Relief Society presidency. And she started coming to my group, and I have no idea why, but she was trained as a corporate coach and a life coach. And she always had great things to contribute to our discussions. And so we had to pick a mentor as part of our self-reliance process. So I chose her, and she gladly volunteered to do that. And it really turned into her coaching me. And that I see as the turning point, because I realized that a lot of the challenges and the pain and the anxiety that I was experiencing was created by my own thinking. And so she really helped coach me through that, helped me start to rewire the way that I thought, and the way that I approached my life. It just has kept going from there, and I've continued following coaching and all of that. But that has also opened up and expanded my view of the gospel and my approach to my discipleship, because it's helped me to be more kind, more merciful, because I've always been kind of a black and white type of a person. And so I did a lot of beating myself up and self-deprecating, and that passed into the way I would think about others too. And so going through those experiences and then learning that that's not the way, that beating yourself up and being unkind to yourself is actually contrary to God's will for us and pulls us further away from him. That really opened up my view and has really matured my testimony and my understanding of the gospel.
The part where we have to also extend this to others, I think that mercy that we learn to give ourselves and learn to give others, that's such a crucial part, because it's really difficult to teach that in primary. It's really difficult to teach any of the how do you apply this when it doesn't feel great that somebody else is doing something that you're not happy about, or they say these are the rules, these are the things you should do, and then how do you apply it, and how do you say it's all right, I'm going to get back up again, I'm going to try harder next time, I'll repent. And that part of it is a little bit more difficult to apply and to learn on a Sunday. And so I wish you hadn't gone through your depression and anxiety at that point in time. I wish you didn't have to suffer that, but I'm grateful for your testimony now of what you've learned and how the rewiring of your brain and your thought processes are able to not only help you in your own personal development, but also in the gospel. And I think that's where you find truth, is when like it helps you in the gospel and it helps you in this aspect of your life and this aspect of your life. You can start applying it in all of these places. And I don't know, it's something that we need to learn. And sometimes it just takes really hard things happening to us. And for an outside voice that is calm and empowering and kind to help us see the difference between negative self-talk or the thoughts that Satan puts into our minds versus what God would really have us hear and say.
Yeah, and it can be scary too to go through that kind of a shift, because so much of how I perceived my whole life revolved around, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and the gospel that we're taught. And so because it was so intertwined, to me, changing my thought processes was having to totally let go of my religion in a way. Like it was having to let go of some aspects that I felt strongly about, so that I could actually, really function at a normal or at a thriving level. And so it can be a scary feeling to learn to be more loving and accepting of what other people choose and even of your own mistakes. Because it feels like, oh no, I can't just pardon that and, go along with that. But you have to understand that it's not that you're, pardoning it and saying it's okay. You're just showing yourself and others the kind of love that Jesus Christ would show to you.
That's a beautiful way of putting that. Thank you so much. Your last exploratory question is, what makes you so excited about the gospel of Jesus Christ? What aspects of it really light you up?
So one aspect of the gospel that I've really come to be fascinated with and love recently is the first principle of the gospel, faith. I just, within the past few months, my conceptualization, if that's a word, of faith has kind of changed and evolved, because I was listening to a podcast where it was a life coach named Jody Moore, and she was interviewing the podcast hosts for the Faith Matters podcast. And they were talking about kind of a faith crisis that they had and their journey to staying in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, and what that took, and how their understanding of faith changed over that time. And just listening to them, it caused me to start thinking about it. And it's just like, wow. So basically the idea being I love the idea that you don't have to know that the gospel is true to live it and to stay in the Church of Jesus Christ. And that's why it's faith. They talked on that podcast about their need for certainty. They couldn't feel certain that God lived, that Joseph Smith was a prophet, that the Book of Mormon was true, that Jesus Christ was their savior, that, all those things. And so it was difficult for them, because they felt they were supposed to feel certain about it. It was difficult for them to accept it. But once they realized, no, I don't have to be certain about the truthfulness of the gospel to still choose to live it and to still choose this as my religion. And I just thought that blew my mind, first of all, because I'm someone who's always felt like I've known, I've always felt like I know that God lives, always known that he's there. But then through some of the experiences I've had, like I talked about before, sometimes it gets really challenging. And sometimes it feels like you're just holding on for dear life. But I just really appreciated that alternative perspective of, even in those times when I don't feel like I'm solid, like I know this is true and I am going to stick with this, that I can still just say, you know what, I may not be feeling it right now, but I can still choose to live the way that God has asked me to, and still choose to be a stalwart, covenant keeping member of the Church of Jesus Christ. And so I just love that idea of faith and how powerful it is, that we can choose to act in accordance with something that we don't know for certain. And so anyway, that's something that I really love about the gospel.
That the way you just put that, I don't think I've ever conceptualized it that way either. Just that you're right. We don't have to be certain of it to live this way. Like, I guess it's kind of like, I don't know how my car works. I know how to start it. I know how to get it to go somewhere and stop it and show, do all the basic things that it takes to safely navigate that car wherever I need to take it. But I don't know why it does the things it does. I don't know how. If
Right.
something broke, I wouldn't be able to fix it. My dad's a mechanic, and even he, doing this for years and years, has to jump on YouTube and ask other professionals for advice. And so as we talk about it that way, like, I can still drive my car
Mm-hmm.
and use it for good things and to get me where I need to go and to drive my family around, to take vacations. I can rely on it,
Mm-hmm.
even though I don't know exactly how it works. And maybe that's not an exact analogy, but it does help me. It kind of gives you freedom to just like sit back and be like, okay, I don't need to stress about this.
Right.
I don't need to stress about finding out if I know it's true or not. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
some people might think, no, I have to focus on this. That's all I can do. But you actually do. You can give yourself permission, just like you said, to just to go forward and do the things, the church organization has asked you to do, believing and hoping that one day you will see the good fruits that are coming from the actions you're taking. Yeah.
Yeah.
What a powerful concept.
Yeah. And it's so, in my experience, it's more powerful to choose to act regardless, like even when you feel like I'm not so sure about this, or even when you feel like I don't know if I know, but I'm going to do this anyway. It makes the action so much more powerful in your life. And I've had experiences where just deciding I'm just going to believe, and move forward. And I just feel the Spirit, in a different way. It's so much stronger. And I have to share a quick experience. There was a girl in my stake. She's a recent convert. And during our stake conference, they had her stand and bear her testimony and share her experience. And it was really impactful to me because historically I'm typically the type that's like, you need to say I know when you bear your testimony. And I know other people have a hard time with saying I know. And I've since, changed my thinking around that a bit. But what was really neat is that she didn't say I know, but when she went to bear her testimony, she was really nervous during the talk. And when she went to bear her testimony, she straightened up a bit and she became still. And she said, I believe that Jesus Christ is my Savior. And that was the most powerful moment in the entire stake conference that weekend. The Spirit was just so strong. I was touched by the Spirit so deeply when I heard her say that she believes it strongly. And so that just really struck me, because prior to that, I tended to think that, saying I know was always that's what made your testimony strong and made the Spirit strong, was when you were able to say, I know. Well, that was just a different experience for me. So now I'm kind of open. You can say either.
It reminds me of the scripture. Oh, I have to find it. But Christ says, "Blessed are they who have seen me and know that I am. But even more blessed are they who believe on your words because you have seen me." And I think there is power on going on belief. And I think that's why it's so crucial that we are all going to go through ups and downs in our spiritual development here on this earth. And there will be times where we feel to say, I know, and it's okay and normal for time to pass and for you to be back at the believe station again. And maybe it's actually the believe station that catalysts you, that gives you that extra spiritual oomph and gets you back to the I know, and then down to the believe. Or maybe you stay in the believe camp this whole time. But I think there's something to that stepping out into the dark and acting on faith that really amplifies our spiritual power and capabilities. Yeah, that's really awesome. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. All right. And that brings us to our final question. Bryson, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Bryson, why do you stay in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints?
Like I said before, I feel like I've always had this sense of knowing that the Church of Jesus Christ is true. And I think now, though, it's more of a choice to stay than in the past. In the past, it was just kind of coasting along, and just kind of like, yeah, I know this is true, and just kind of writing that out. But now it's more of a daily choice to stay. In my experience, the joy that I feel when I am living the gospel and trying to keep my covenants and trying to focus on Jesus Christ, live the way that we're taught to within the construct of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, the joy that I feel doing that is far greater than anywhere else. I've had some experiences recently, like studying the Book of Mormon and the scriptures, where it's just this undeniable, especially having chronic anxiety and dealing with things like that, it can be difficult to recognize this and really feel the Spirit. And so, but when I do feel the Spirit, it makes it even more poignant and clear, because I have a hard time creating that myself, that sense of peace, the warmth that I feel from the Spirit. And so, I've had those experiences, and I feel this connection to God. And when I am able to get past my mortal filters and get past my brain that wants to run and hide or just wants to do its own thing, then there are those moments of joy and those moments of peace that you really can't find anywhere else. And so it's just really an accumulation of experiences over time that lead to this feeling of just like, this is the place for me.
Bryson, thank you so much for your words and for your testimony and for the experiences that have brought you to this point. Thank you for sharing them with us today. I know they will be appreciated, and I have appreciated them. So thank you very much.
No, thank you so much, Lindsay. I appreciate being able to visit.
Okay, so I've been thinking about what is my next faith step? What is my next faith action step? What do I need to do to give myself spiritual momentum, that belief, that walking out into the dark, acting in the way that I've been taught, even if I don't know exactly the end result? How is it going to turn out? What's going to happen to me, to the people I love? How can I use my faith in Jesus Christ and stick to my covenants when I'm having a hard time? What is my next faith step? And I guess we could say, what's your next step on the covenant path? What is the next thing that you need, that spiritual power to propel you forward? Where can you put your trust in Jesus Christ more fully? And also, one other question, where do we need to rewire our brains to think about these gospel principles in a more expansive way? I know that we can pray to the Father in the name of Jesus Christ to ask for this blessing. Please help me understand the gospel in a more expansive way. Please expand my soul, my ability to reason, and my ability to feel in my heart. Because really, there is so much joy to be had and peace to be felt. And maybe it's going to take some pruning in our lives, getting rid of things that just are blocking our spiritual growth. It might be hard. It might not be fun. You might cringe at the thought of, oh, I need to stop watching that show, or I need to learn how to think about others more kindly. But these are things that I've tried in my life, and I know for a fact that it has helped me. And I believe that it will help me again in the future, and I believe it can help you as well. So that's just something to chew on, something to think about here as we go through our next week. So thank you so much for coming and listening to this podcast today. I think it's so wonderful. And I mean, can somebody say that about their own works? And that's the thing. It's not my works. I just sit here and I ask the questions, and then I am edified by these amazing people, just ordinary members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, sharing a blip of their experiences in the gospel, and we are all edified by it. Isn't it awesome? I think it's great. Anyway, love you guys so much. We will see you next week. And again, thank you for staying with us. The Why I Stay podcast is a faith-based podcast exploring the lives and experiences of members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. This podcast is not produced or endorsed by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, but we do love that church. All rights reserved. And a great big shout out to Fast Sounds from Pixabay for the amazing and jammin' intro-outro music. Thanks, guys.